Hey, welcome to the Friday stream. I'm going to be finishing up the Loki quilt today, Loki inspired quilt today. I've got my coffee ready. So I went ahead and I finished all of the strips. So I've got all my strips here. So from today, I'm just going to pick it up where I left off and start assembling all the strips and then do the borders. Making sure I didn't trap any of my things. Oh, I may have. Alright, where is my rotary cutter? Oh, I think it fell down. Alright, well, I'll get to it. When I get to that part, then I'll go find my rotary cutter. I also set up all of my t-shirt stuff. That way, the t-shirt quilts, that way, cat, no, get, go, go, go. Thank you. That way, when I finish the Loki quilt, if it's before the stream is up, I will work on the t-shirt quilt commissions. Okay, so let me get going. So what I've done is I have 8 rows. I know it's hard to see, you kind of see only the edge of it. I actually have 15 rows total in this quilt. So I've got them in group. I've already pinned and sewn 2 rows together with 1 on the end. And then now I'm going to combine those together. So I've got 4 sets of these. Oh, and let me get out my pattern because I will need that. There we go. I'm not going to need this for right now. This is my favorite part of a quilt, is putting all this together. Because especially with pixelated quilting, it's hard to see what the final product is going to be until you get towards the end. And then all of a sudden those pixels come together. So if you take a look at a pixel from, let's say, an NES game, if you just look at maybe 4 of those pixels, you can't see what the whole thing is. That looks good. Oh, and for my my Wednesday stream, I said that I was going to jinx myself because I didn't flip any pieces or any of that. Yeah, I flipped a piece in the last 3 rows, and I had to use my seam ripper to pull it all out. Now I'm not going to sew them right now. I'm just going to do a pass of ironing and pinning together. And then whenever I get 2 together, then I'll sew it. Oops, I need, there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. I always like to put a piece of paper over my pattern so I can see exactly where I am with the order. Okay, so that goes this way. this way. Looks good. No, Marley, the kitty cat doesn't want to play. I know, I love you too, baby. It's so funny. So Marley is one of the my rescue dogs. We got him in December. Yes, yeah, we got him in December as a playmate for Alfred. And he was a puppy mill dog that was rescued this previous spring, adopted out, and returned. And the reason why he was returned is because they couldn't get through to him. He wasn't bonding at all. He was very aloof and afraid all the time, and they didn't know what to do. So, apparently, he is super afraid of people and absolutely loves dogs. So, our two dogs basically are teaching him how to be a dog and helping him. And, of course, he's made some really good strides. Like, he's super cuddly lately, super, like, really awesome with everything. Well, today was a bad day. I don't know what set him off. I don't know what... Oh, I apologize. I didn't turn that off. So it was too bright, so you couldn't see everything I was doing. So anyway, so something set him off today, and he just wanted to hide the entire day. He didn't want any interaction. He just didn't want anything at all. So I finally, about an hour ago, got him to interact a little bit and eat some dinner, use the bathroom, stuff like that. And I gave him some treats. And then I brought him down and gave him a bone to chew on. So now he's happy as a clam. He's not acting afraid anymore. He's not... So I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's something upstairs that's scaring him today. There he is. I know, Marley, but the kitty cat doesn't want to play with you. Really wants to play with the cat. Oops. Stop. There we go. After this one, I just have one more set of rows, iron and pin. And then I will sew them. There's my oddball. Whenever I pin rows, I always pin the shortest row on top. So you notice how I flipped it and then turned it around? It's easier for me to work with it that way. Because unlike with the rest of the quilt, where it makes a difference which way you iron the seams, when you're assembling rows, it doesn't make a difference. Marley. Alright, so I have all 4 pinned. So the next step is take 2 at a time, because these are the 2 that are going to get ironed and sewn together. And sew them. Now you notice how I didn't trim it between those rows? That's because I want to make sure these 2 rows are kept together. Okay, now I get to sew the other 2 rows. And now I'll trim it. What I normally do whenever I make quilts like this by myself, like when I'm not streaming, I will put the TV on and do computer work whenever the programs are on and when the commercials come on. That's whenever, or I should say computer work, piecing, ironing, things like that. And then when the commercials come on, I actually run the sewing machine and run my pieces and sew things together. Commercial stops, I iron, I pull out all the pins and I iron everything that I've done, piece it all together. If a commercial doesn't come back on yet, then I work on the computer. So, and that is my day. I thought I forgot to take a pin out, but apparently it was just a seam that didn't want to iron. Alright. Nice. There is his bottom half. I don't know why I put this over here. This should go over here so I can see chat while I'm pinning. Now after I finish pinning these two, there's no more rows left except for what's in the machine. So I will sew this to pull out the other two. What I'm doing when I'm lifting up the bottom like that is I'm checking to see if there's a seam underneath, to see if I need to be nesting it or if I can just pin it through. Soleil. My nose is itching today. I think my allergies are acting up. whenever I'm piecing things together and I see things like this, it freaks me out a little bit sometimes. So I'm like, why is there a piece over there? And then I have to look at the pattern, which is what I did, and I saw, okay, his horn, the end of his horn. It's perfectly okay, Tony. That floating piece out in the middle of nowhere belongs there. And the piece that I flipped upside down was this one. So I had it flipped that way. That would not have looked good at all. So I did have to completely take the row apart and redo it. At least the nice thing about pixelated quilts is most of the time you see it. At least hopefully I've gotten better at seeing it, I should say. Looking for my scrap fabric. Marley, honey. Leave the cat alone. She doesn't care. She doesn't want to play with you. Whenever we were designing this quilt and this pattern, I was trying to figure out a way to reduce colors, and I said, can we change that to the light blue or to another color or something, because it almost seems a waste to have just a single small little piece of the color blue. And so we tried all sorts of different ways, and then finally Nicole said, no, it has to be blue. And this is what it's going to look like. So I said, okay. And now that I have made the quilt and I'm looking at it, she is absolutely right. You're very cute, honey. Alright. Now after this, after I sew, pull out the pins, and iron this, I am going to go hunting for my rotary cutter, which is on the floor over there somewhere. Because I don't see it sitting on top of the cutting ruler where I put it. Okay, so the main part is done. Now, I need to figure out how big I want to have the surrounding part. In the picture you see to the left, I have a single pixel all the way around, so that would be a 2-inch strip, 1.5 after it's sewn. But I may want to do a 3.5 depending upon how wide this is. The widest I will ever go with a quilt is 40 inches. And the reason why is because most fabric is 42 inches. If you don't want to add on any additional borders around it, by keeping it at 40 inches, it will let you take any fabric you want as a backing, and you don't have to sew it together. So it's more of a convenience thing. Okay, so it is 36 inches. So 2 inches it is, so that's going to add 3 inches on, so it'll be 39 inches probably wide. Okay, so let's get the fabric. And you get to see one of my new rulers. Alright, let me go find the rotary cutter. So I'm going to walk in front of the camera, so ignore me walking in front of the camera. Because I have myself trapped in over here. Because of the rack. Okay. Where did that rotary cutter go? Oh, there it is. It fell down to the left. Okay. Coming back through, walking in front of the camera. Alright, so one of the other things I got in St. Louis was a stripology ruler. They're pretty cool. So with the stripology ruler, I can cut multiple strips. So I need to cut a total of 6 strips. So one along the top, one along the bottom, one along the left, one along the right, and then I believe one I can cut in half. Yep, so it would be 44 exactly. Yep, so I have to do 1.5. Okay, so I need a total of 6. So let me line this baby up. Okay. 1, 2, 3. See how much faster this is? 4, 5. I don't have to worry about the roller moving. 6. Oh, you know what? I don't need this anymore. Let me get rid of it. Now I could have moved over there. Now this is the only problem with the ruler that I'm finding, is that sometimes I don't make the cuts completely through. I would prefer a little bit more space along the top and the bottom. To make sure that I'm able to cut it all the way through. There we are, and that's trash. Okay, so first, let me put this away, I don't need it anymore. I need to cut one strip in half and sew it to the left and right. Now in my directions for my patterns, I will a lot of times specify do the top and bottom or do the left and right first. Most of the time it doesn't make a difference. I didn't need 6, I needed 5. Have an extra one. I can't count. Oh, and before I forget, let me update the pattern. So here's all of my notations that I have for the quilts of everything that I do. This is how I figure it all out. So I'm doing light blue for the border, and I need 5 strips. And then from here, I'll figure out the fabric requirements. From there, I will do all the lovely math. All right. I think in my patterns, I'd say to do the left and the right first. But this, for Loki, it doesn't make a difference. So I'll do the top and bottom first. Now, if you really wanted to, you could leave them just like that. My personal preference with pixel quilts is I don't like it when the pixels touch the binding, when they touch the edge. I don't think it gives it a finished, polished look. Just putting this extra bit of fabric around the edges gives it a nice framed feeling. So it gives it a finished feeling. In the scrap bin. that seam underneath wasn't laying down nicely. So I was fixing it. These need to be ironed. It's been a long day today. I got a lot done. I actually started finishing one of the t-shirt quilts. So the last stream that I did a t-shirt quilt stuff in, I worked on that a bit, so I have it down to, I've got it right there. I think I finished sewing on the last bit of the borders, and I just need to iron it and trim it, and that one's done. And then after that one, I only have 3 more to go for the big commission. And then I also have to work on the t-shirt quilt for the commission that's due at MagFest, which that one's a little bit far off, so I'm not too concerned about getting that one done, although it is next in the order. For the borders, I normally just iron them away from the quilt, so towards the border. Doesn't make a difference which way you iron it. I just find it's easier that way. edges. Alright, so whenever I'm adding on the left and the right border, I have a half of a piece and then a whole piece. So I always start with the half of a piece, because especially this one is pretty close to the 44 inches of the fabric itself, and I don't want a seam for the borders near the edges. Trim the edge. Throw it in scraps. Okay, same thing. I'm going to look to see where the short end is, and it's right there. So I'm going to do that one first. Now, the other way of thinking that you could do is find where the seam is on the other side and then lay it up the same direction. So in other words, I want to, if I want them even, I could take this and start it from the right, move right to left instead of left to right. Doesn't make a difference to me where those seams are. If I was entering a quilt for a competition, those are little details that I would do. And scraps. Alright. Last time I get to sew this one. chaining going because it's long enough. I'm just going to pick up on the other side. It's always better when you're feeding the fabric into the machine. You always want to have an unobstructed way for the fabric to move. So that's why you see me stop and fix the fabric and move it around, because I want the fabric to be straight, because if it's crooked or if it's caught at all, then it's hard to actually feed it into the machine, and it may not feed in nicely. Now I can say the next pattern, the one that's before this, the Mega Man inspired quilt, we are calling him Mega Android. Because, you know, he's got a blaster arm instead of a real arm. So Mega Android will be releasing next week. So if you've been waiting for the Mega Man one, watch my social media next week, and either, I'm thinking Tuesday? Either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday will be launch day. And then the day after launch day, assuming it's not Wednesday, because Wednesday is my blog day, I will be doing the giveaway. So if I can, I will have launch day on Monday, giveaway day Tuesday, and then I can blog about it Wednesday, and then I'll do the actual stream to give away a pattern on Thursday. And I have no clue what we're calling this guy yet. We haven't decided. Alright, so my Loki inspired quilt. Let me look at that so I can actually see, make sure you can see the whole thing. And yeah. And then there's his bottom. Yep, so there he is. He is finished. So, I am going to pin him tomorrow, and then I will do a stream either on Sunday or Monday, where I will quilt and bind it all in one go. So I will just quilt and bind him because I want to have him available for AwesomeCon, which is my next convention. So even if I don't have the patterns done, it's okay, Marley. I wasn't throwing that at you. Poor thing got scared. I tossed it into the basket. Even if I don't have the actual pattern finished yet, I at least want to, well, the pattern won't be available yet. I at least want to have the quilt available. So next, I am moving on to T-shirt quilts. And this T-shirt quilt is the fourth one. This is the fourth one for the commission that I'm doing. And I've got it all finished except for the borders, which I sewed on, and I am ironing right now. Go. Oh, and I should put my Loki pattern away. I will finish up all of the final measurements and things like that tomorrow. So, I don't have a picture of the t-shirt quilt, do I? Oh, I do. Okay, t-shirt. Where is it? Because I need to Loki's gonna go off. Okay. Why? Oh, I see what I've done. Well, apparently I pulled things off to the side, and then I can't see them. So, let's do this. And let's move this baby over here. And see, you get to see all the lovely behind the scenes stuff. Okay, so now that's what I'm working on now. Fantastic. And let's change the title. Because I'm now working on t-shirt quilts. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize you couldn't even see me while I was working on the computer. Okay, now on to t-shirt quilts. this is, oh, I've got to bring up the internet. I didn't even see it. This is the Tshirt Quilt number 6. So let me go into my Google Docs and update the commission spreadsheet because I finished it. Oops, come on. Gently. There we go. Okay, so this is number 6 for Godmother. So this one is pieced. Fantastic. Alright, and let me show you what it looks like. So this is quilt number 6. Nope, let me go that way. There we go. And the bottom one. Alright, this one is done. Now I'll move on to the next. Okay, the next one uses the same fabric. This is the Moda Marbles Gray color. My script's big enough? Yes, okay. And let me pull out my stripology ruler. Since cutting the strips goes a lot faster with this. Looking forward to my my Sizzix machine because that'll make it even better because then I can just crank it through and I don't have to actually use it. 3, 7. I'm just going to make 2 passes with it. Okay. I'm done with the ruler. Okay, so this is, I'm going to move those over. Again with the Tshirt quilts. As you saw, everything gets framed and sashed. So the way that I do it is I only do the sashing on the left and the right of the second block. So this is A1. Oh, and this is quilt number 5 that I'm working on. So A1 I'm not going to do anything with. A2. with t-shirts, again, there's no stabilizer, there's nothing in here. So I'm just very careful, and I'm not stretching the fabric, and I'm just rolling it down and letting it sit. Making sure that I have enough of both fabrics to pin them. Two. Marley, honey. Honey, the kitty cat doesn't want to... I know, I love you very much. The kitty cat doesn't want to play with you. And this is too small a piece for my scraps, so that's trash. And you notice how this one has no buttons? I had to cut the top button, and it actually was missing that button. That one is big enough for a scrap. Marley. Flip these back over again. Likes to bark at that cat. All right. thread is running out. There we go. Oops. I want to put my scrap fabric in because I want to get all 4 out at the same time. I don't have any left in there. Now in this case, for the t-shirts, I'm ironing it on the wrong side, on the back side of the shirts, and I'm ironing all the seams towards the shirt. I don't have to worry about any seams being nested, so there's no worried about which way it is. I just like to do it that way because it actually gives more support whenever I'm doing the quilting. Out because that tells me the position it's in. Oh, hi, Persimmon. How are you today? I finished Thor already. Or Thor. Loki. I already finished Loki already. It did not take me long to finish him up. So now I'm working on t-shirt quilts. do a Thor pattern. I have Thor on my brain for some reason. And my time is 6:18, so it is evening. I know it is, okay, if you're in United Kingdom, it is 5 hours ahead, so 11:18, I think, your time. Fantastic. I like it whenever my math is correct. I know all of the others, whenever I trim the edges, I did it from the front side. I figured it'd be a little bit different for this one. And do it on the back side, just because I wanted to see the thread to see if my sewing is straight or not. And it looks like it's pretty straight. If it's not a big deal. I'll work around it. Oh, the one I did with Jordan? Thank you. Yeah, internet issues suck. I have my friend Susan, who went with me to Quilt Market, that you saw through the pictures for the Monday night stream. She keeps trying to jump on and watch me on Twitch, but her internet sucks. So, yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to make that for the longest time. And so finally, I said, you know what? Jordan is now in high school. She needs this thing for her art class, so we did it. Okay, so now I've got my pieces in the middle finished, so now I have my strips on the right and the left. So I'm going to take my pieces, the A1 and A3, and put it on either side of A2. And I'm just going to lay it on top. Now these are t-shirts, and there is no stabilizer. There's nothing in here. So they're going to stretch. They're going to move. So it's important to line up the corners first. And then just kind of move and play with it. Get it to lay down and line up. And the more pins, the merrier. Oops. There is a hair. There we go. Yeah, I have another one. I'm thinking I still have that dog and cat quilt I need to make for my husband. I've got some of the blocks done. Just kind of sitting over there. One of these days I'll find time to work on it. And then now I have that table runner that I brought back from Spring Market with the William Morris collection. So I've got to make that one too. I have t-shirts to start my youngest son's quilt. Wasn't sure how I was going to do it. Nice. Fantastic. Now, the biggest thing to remember with my t-shirts, there's a couple of different ways to do t-shirt quilts. I do not use any stabilizer in mine. That is the number one method that people use for t-shirt quilts, because this stretch, it's going to stretch, it's going to move. It's really hard to work with. So the stabilizer actually helps it. Something I discovered one of the streams is this stuff, Material Magic. I don't know if you can get that in the UK. If you can get this stuff in the UK, it is amazing. I'm thinking the next I've already got these all cut, but the next t-shirt quilt that I do, I'm going to use this stuff on it. And what it does is it stiffens up and hardens the t-shirt and turns it into paper. So it's easy to work with and easy to do stuff with, but it washes instantly out. So you don't have to worry, because the thing about stabilizer is it's, did I do that right? No! Damn it! Something told me to look at it. I knew I was going to do that. You see what I did? I flipped this block upside down. See? Something told me I was going to do that too. I'm glad I checked it before I sewed it. So anyway, so it with stabilizer, there we are, that's right. It makes it a lot easier to work with and makes it the actual fabric. But then the problem with it is the stabilizer doesn't go away. So it stays inside the quilt and it stays with the t-shirt. So the actual quilt itself is a little stiff. Every single quilt that I make is not for show. It's for use. The only exception is the secret project that I did. So everything that I do is meant to be loved and used on a bed. So I want it soft. I want it super soft. So I do not use stabilizer. And then I replaced the picture of Loki with the with a sample of what the t-shirt quilts look like. Oh yeah, that's an idea. The washable stabilizer. See, and it's not even a liquid stabilizer or starch. It is, oh yeah, liquid fabric stabilizer. You're right. Yeah, and it's fray resistant. Yeah. So that's the nice thing, is it washes completely out. Yeah, washable stabilizer would probably work. I've honestly never tried it. I have never tried the washable stabilizer before. Anytime I use it, I use stabilizer, it's because of embroidery or something else. I don't know, I'm a self-taught quilter. So a lot of the things I've done, I know because I figured them out. And I've taken a couple of basic classes, and now that I do this for a living, I take a lot of classes now. So, and it's interesting how some of the things that I do are completely different than what classes and teachers and everyone tells you to do. And I'm like, you know what? But the way I do it works. It's like, so a lot of times I will be at a convention and someone asks me about t-shirt quilts, and I say I don't use stabilizer and I don't do any of that, so that my t-shirts are really soft. And I can always tell if I'm talking to a quilter, because I get the question of, well, how do you make that work? You need stabilizer for t-shirt quilts. So I tell them it's magic. One. Now you notice how this one, as soon as I put this t-shirt down, you see how the t-shirt itself is longer than the actual fabric? It's a t-shirt quilt. That's gonna happen. So, I don't want to stretch this out anymore, so I'm just going to take this and scooch it on down. And then I'm going to pin the other corner. Okay, and then stretch out the fabric itself. And you just kind of move it and play with it. Yeah, it's funny. Whenever anyone, the two biggest questions I get asked is, how do you do that? So if I'm at a convention, someone says, well, how do you do that? I can't explain it to you in 5 minutes at a convention, which is why I Twitch stream. So the answer is magic. The other question I get is, where do I find all of my fabrics? A lot of people say, oh my gosh, I've never seen this fabric. What store did you get this from? And my answer to that one is no store. I am licensed as a manufacturer. So, I actually am registered as a business in both the US and Canada. And so everything I do is through the business. So that means all of my fabric I can buy direct from the manufacturer. Which is what I was doing at Spring Market. I was meeting with all of my suppliers and placing my big orders of fabric. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this freaking fabric to come. I know, right? Well, it's funny because I will have, it's not even the boys. It's, the biggest thing is what quilts you want to include, what t-shirts you want to include in it. Because you've got two problems. Number one, if you include a t-shirt in the quilt, you can no longer wear the t-shirt. Number two, picking which t-shirts to go together. So like the t-shirt quilt that's in the example, oh wait, was that a general one? Let's see. That's the, oh yeah, that was just a general t-shirt quilt. I've got, on my website, I have a couple of t-shirt quilt examples. And that one was a general one. I also did one, it was either a double, yeah, it was a double size, with all of the t-shirts from a lady's sorority. So she has all these sorority t-shirts. Nice. See, I like the themed ones. So having it being a music shirt, completely approve of that. That's pretty cool. Oh, before I forget, I wanted to show this on the stream today. I finished my Catan block. So this is what I'm teaching at Gen Con this summer. So I've got the entire Catan block finished. Now, I still have to put the batting in it, quilt it, and bind it. Fantastic, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and like I said, because you're in the UK, I currently do not have any stores that carry my patterns there, but you can download it online. And then Mega Man is being released next week, and I'm doing a giveaway for him. Whenever I release a new pattern, I always do a giveaway. And then Loki will be released in 2 months. So every 2 months I try to release one. Yeah, I really like the way Wonder Woman turned out. Nicole did an amazing job designing her. I made sure that I made, so whenever, if you're ever able to get to a convention where I'm at, I haven't done any in Europe yet, but you never know. If someone wants to pay me to go out there, I will definitely do them in Europe. But if you're ever at a convention I'm at, I have patterns and I have finished quilts. And it's funny, I have a lot of quilters that buy the finished quilts. There was one at MagFest in January. I was talking to this lady and she goes, oh man, I can quilt this and that, I can get some more skills, and she was going to buy the pattern, and then she decides, no, I want to get the kit, because I also sell kits where you can get all the fabric and everything. She's like, no, whatever, I'm never going to make it, just give me the quilt. She bought the finished quilt. Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Now the only thing with a two-sided quilt that I'll tell you now, when you look at my Etsy or my Craftsy site, you'll see that there's measurements under each of them of what the finished size is going to be. Whenever you do a double-sided quilt, make sure that that they're the exact same size. So let's say if the one measurement comes out to, I'm making up numbers, 30 by 50, and the other one is 32 by 52, you have to add the 2 inches to the smaller one, because then whenever you're laying them out and you're pinning them, you have to make sure everything lines up perfectly. So you have to actually cut your batting the exact size. So when you tape the bottom quilt to the ground and put your batting on there, you make sure everything's the exact size that you want it to be. You also want your borders to be about 2 inches bigger on either side. That way you have room for trimming after you actually get all the quilting done. So those are the only tips and techniques that I do differently for double-sided quilts. D2, D1. Oh my, you know what? I was the same way. So I will be 41 in 2 weeks? Less than 2 weeks. 11 days. And I went through a divorce, and I found that I had all of this time on my hands, and all of my friends were couples friends with my ex-husband. And they all had kids. So I had all this time. I didn't want to jump right back into the dating pool, so I needed something to do. So I was searching the internet, and I was chatting with someone, and I'm like, you know what? Quilting is kind of cool, and I saw a Mario quilt and went, that. I want to do that, and I want to design them, and I'm going to do them. So, and then I jumped right in and started doing it. See, and it's the stitch art too. Like, I did a ton of cross stitch and stitch art, and then I think that really helped me for quilting, because I was able to, I do all of my designs on KG Chart, the cross stitch program. So it was really, really good and helpful to figure all that out. And I had never done sewing before, ever. The first class that I took, I had my cheap $50 Walmart machine, and I brought that with me. And I could not figure out how to use it, and then the teacher kind of took me aside and held my hand and went, honey, if you want to really quilt, you can't use that machine. It's too bad. It's not a good machine. So I went to the store and bought a $500 machine. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's yeah. And something I am. Oh, really? You've never done cross stitch, but you've done needle felting and stuff? See, I love cross stitch. It's so easy and nice. If you want some good patterns for cross stitch and get some good basic, easy patterns, go to Sprite Stitch. Sprite Stitch is a website of video game cross stitchers. And that's how I met Nicole, my business partner. It's amazing. So, yeah, it's a good site, and there's a lot of great people, and there's a lot of free patterns on there, and there's a lot of people that'll teach you how to cross stitch and what to do. It's all free. It's great. See, and my grandmother was a big quilter too. And I remember watching her and doing all this stuff, and I did not actually start quilting until after she passed. There we go. See, and I hear that a lot, though, is that people will, watch their mother or watch their grandmother or someone else sew. And the biggest thing that I'm fighting with in the quilt industry is that quilt shop owners and sewing store owners, there's a good chunk of them that are convinced that young people are not sewing. And we're trying to change their attitudes and tell them about cosplay and show them about all this stuff, and yeah. And people need a place to go to find really good things. So like Warbler, it's almost impossible to find Warbler in a store and have hands-on classes unless you go to like specialty conventions. Sewing stores and quilt stores that carry stuff like that are doing really well. I cannot paint worth crap. Jord can paint. She's a really good artist. But I cannot paint. Why is that doing that? It's Iron Bandsgram, the lady that was on here the other night, that was on Wednesday with whenever you were on. She is a quilter, I'm sure, as you saw from our conversation. So she's another professional quilter, but a lot of her quilts are art quilts. So she does a lot of thread painting, which is just like freehand, almost like an embroidery. It's so super cool. Yeah, that's odd. I actually have a couple of pieces upstairs that are framed that I've done for the cross stitch. My wedding gift to my husband, I cross stitched the first world of Super Mario 3 and framed it for him. I like that. Move paint around. No, Jordan is super, super talented with art and painting, and we were actually trying to convince her. So I'm not sure how the high schools are in the UK, but yeah, that's so cool. See, that's what Iron Bandsgram does. A lot of thread painting. So there's a lot of magnet schools here. So one of the high schools is an art magnet school. So we're trying to convince her to go to that. It didn't work. She didn't want to go. That's okay. She's happy. So I have not decided when I am streaming next. Normally I decide by now. So my husband's playing ball this weekend. He's in a tournament. So I'd kind of like to watch it, but I don't know. So I will stream sometime tomorrow or Sunday. And I will finish up the Loki quilt. So I'll actually do all of the quilting and binding for the Loki quilt, because I do want to have him finished for AwesomeCon. I just don't know when I'm doing it yet. But I'll make sure that I update do the little announcement. Okay, this is row C. And there's row D. That's awesome. That is pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Marley, what are you doing? Oh, my dog. Okay, that's row B. Yeah, definitely. And and that's one of the reasons why I do it, is because even if I'm, like, for the first hour, there was no one talking to me. So I talk to myself. So even if there is no one to talk to, I will go through and still explain and talk about what I am doing, because I do like to put stuff up on YouTube. Because I want to encourage the world to quilt. So if it's up on YouTube, you can watch it. Thank you, I appreciate that. I like having you watching. Alright. Okay, so I've got all 4 of my rows done. So this quilt is exactly the same size as the one in the sample there. Now I get to put on my sashing. And I think I have measured and cut these t-shirts so that my sashing is perfect for the row. So let's find out. Yes, it is perfect. So it goes all, in fact, I'll put this down so you can see it. It goes all the way across, and it's perfect. So for row A, because you figure if you look at the sashing on there, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, you have 5 rows of sashing. So row A, I'm going to put the sashing along the top and along the bottom. All the other rows, I'm going to put the sashing along the bottom. Yeah. Again, it's only you in chat right now, too. Sometimes I will go an entire stream without anyone in chat. And that is, I like it when people are in chat because the time goes by faster and I'm more productive when I'm talking. But if there's no one talking to me, it's I'm still gonna make things. I'm still gonna do things. And I'm still gonna explain it. Yes, it is. So the sashing is the same as here. So I took the center square and I put the sashing onto the left and to the right and trimmed it. And then I put the t-shirts onto the right and the left. So these little yellow things, Soleil! These little yellow things are my markers telling me what position it's in. So this is A1, A2, A3. So I know where they're going. And this sashing here is the same as here. So they're not quite borders. Sashing is just what separates everything and kind of frames it. So it's, and the fabric that I am using is the Moda Marbles, which is one of my favorite lines of fabric. Because it's cool looking and it's weighty. So yeah, but it's all the same size, all the same kind of fabrics. And if you want to put a different color border on, so if you look at the sample, see how it's all black, that's all in and around it? There's no additional borders on that one. If you want additional borders, you do it around that black. You don't do it here because you want it consistent. And that's if you use sashing at all. There is, there's an example on my website for a t-shirt quilt with no sashing at all. With just where the t-shirts are sewn to each other. It is cotton. Everything I use is 100% cotton. I tend to not use any mixed fabrics or fabrics that aren't cotton. But that's just my preference. The batting that I use for my quilts, I use an 80-20 cotton poly batting because I like how it helps regulate your body temperature. No, I do not mind questions like that at all. Again, I want to encourage the world to quilt. So I will answer any and all questions. There are some people that pop into my streams, they don't care about the actual quilting, they just want to talk to me. Which is fine too. So I'm still figuring out. Yeah, no, I love cotton. It's just, especially whenever you're quilting, if you use all the same kind of fabric. So if you use all cotton, it's going to all shrink at the same rate and wear at the same rate if you have the same quality. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do Twitch streams on the go for my phone. So it wouldn't have this nice pretty setup. It would be almost like a Facebook Live video. Because I really, really want to stream our setup for Too Many Games. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's really cool. They were actually kind of burning a little bit today. Artist Open Studios are awesome. I freaking love those things. When I can, I try, because I actually have a bank of sewing machines. I'm actually teaching a kids class next Friday because it's a PE day. So I actually have a bank of sewing machines. So the Artist Open Studios, I like to go in and teach classes sometimes. Because that's another thing that I believe is that if you don't have the money for a machine, that shouldn't stop you from learning the skill of how to sew. So a lot of times, like I teach my classes at the family centers here. I want to keep that separate because that's a 2. So and I only charge for the cost of the materials. So next Friday's class, I'm only charging $10 a kid to make 2 hair ties. And that's how much the materials are going to cost. Alright, so I've done the first row, so now the other 3 rows, I am just putting sashing on the bottom. That's awesome. Yeah, it's, I'm lucky in that my parents live just outside of DC. So there is a huge community there. So whenever I go down to visit them, when I have conventions in the States, and I go to visit them, I use them as my base of operations. So there's tons of really cool artsy things down there. And the city I live in here, in Ontario, actually has a really cool art scene as well. I know what you mean. Sometimes we just love those machines. There are a ton of people that I know that still use like antique machines to sew on just because they love them so much. So what's the new machine? What did you pick up? Hi, kitty cat. I know, I haven't fed you dinner yet. I'm behind. Oh, what are you doing? It's not time. I will feed you when I'm done. Oh, that's awesome. I have to remember where my cousin lives. My cousin lives somewhere over there. She lives in something that ends with Shire, which like is half of the United Kingdom. Wait, a Toyota 1980? Oh, that's interesting. Singer Quantum Stylus. Okay. See, I don't know anything about the singers. I'm not familiar with any of their machines. Because Singer isn't, they don't go to a lot of the quilt conventions that I go to. So I haven't talked to any reps. Yeah, I know, right? Shire. And I honestly have never even played on a Singer. I know a lot of my friends have Singers. Hi, Iron Bands Graham, how are you? Yeah, so Persimmon, she's the thread painter. So if you want the embroiderer, so if you want to watch her do her stuff, it's really cool. If you want to go follow Iron Bandsgram. Have you gotten your internet issues all fixed yet? See, I didn't even know that Toyota made sewing machine. That just blows my mind. Like, when you said a 1980 Toyota, I'm thinking, did you mean a car? Yeah, see, it's a big learning curve. Like, I'm a brother baby lock girl just because it is super easy to figure a lot of the things out. Like, the drop-in bobbin is just, it's amazing. And even the inexpensive models for Brother and Baby Lock have the drop-in bobbin. Wait, so Toyota makes embroidery machines too? See, that just, yeah. Seriously, you guys are blowing my mind tonight. That doesn't even, I don't even understand that. Oh yeah, it was pink too, that's a thing. Yeah, see, so, and then I noticed the Fast have some drop-in bobbins too. Do the inexpensive models have drop-in bobbin too, or is it just the better models that have them? Nice. Nice. See, my Innovis, my QC1000, my Laura Ashley, actually has the needle threader and everything. This cheap thing doesn't. It has a drop-in bobbin, but that's it. I like that. You match your long arm to your car. That is fantastic. Oh, and when I am in Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania for my next 2-week trip, I am going to stream one night from my parents' house on pinning quilts. So I will get all of these t-shirt quilts pinned so you can see how I pin them. So that was the nice thing. Whenever I went to Vegas for the sewing show, I was able to sit down with because I already knew that all of the brothers had the drop-in bobbins, and I know that Baby Locks and Brothers are very similar. So I was able to actually sit down with the Baby Lock person, and she actually showed me a lot of the models, a lot of the machines, and explained a lot of the stuff to me. It was pretty cool. Because for some reason I had it in my mind that they didn't have inexpensive models. That it was just, Brother and people like that. But no, Baby Lock's got a good $300 machine. Yeah, being coordinated is nice. Alright, time to sew the rows. So I've got my 4 rows. I've got the sashing onto the bottom, and then the row A, I've got the sashing on the bottom and the top. The biggest thing as I sew is I'm watching it very carefully to make sure that I'm catching the t-shirt, because it's stretchy. The t-shirt's gonna move, it's gonna change. Camshaft, so before oh, that's interesting. Huh. So t-shirts are gonna move on you, so it's super important that you keep an eye to make sure it doesn't shift, even though you've got a pin. Because you have to have at least a 1/4 inch seam in there. There we go. See, you guys have got the embroidery talk going. I have no clue what a cam is. Is that just like a special like machine piston thing in order to do it, or is that for the pattern? Oh, okay. That makes sense. See, I'm a little spoiled when it comes to embroidery because I didn't start quilting until I was 32. So, yeah, I've only been doing it almost 9 years. So, it was all digital, and whenever I first got the embroidery machine, that was whenever they're adding in the USB stick. So you're able to do it on your computer and then stick it into the machine. So it's super easy. Oh, that's cool. That's really neat. Okay, that's D, I did C. Okay, so now we do A. See, I'm learning so much about not just machines and quilting, but sewing. Like, I seriously had no clue what all those numbers on the needle meant until I actually talked to the lady from Schmetz, and she explained a lot of the stuff to me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And that's why I still make mistakes. Like I did that one night you saw Iron Band's when I was quilting that quilt, and it told me right on the thing what needle to use, and I didn't have the right needle. I think that's why I like the Superior thread so much, because it tells me what needle to use. Eventually I will understand more about thread and needles and all the good stuff. Oh, okay, that one slipped a little bit, but I was just making sure it's fine. Yeah, no, and in fact, that's what I was talking to Persimmon about. About that I don't use stabilizer. For me, it's just a matter of, I mean, when you're actually assembling the top, you really don't need it that much. It's only for the actual quilting. And I will do, when I get back from my next trip, I will do a stream. I'll do a quilting stream where I actually quilt the t-shirt quilt, so you can see how I do it. Although the next quilt that I make, because I've got one more commission on here after all of these 7, and after I do all of these and I get to the next t-shirt quilt, I'm thinking I'm going to use the Terrial Magic. I actually was talking to them at Spring Market, and I told them about the stream that I did. Whenever I'm like, you know what, this t-shirt's giving me a hard time. I'm having issues, and I don't want to add stabilizer. And so I thought, hey, I have that Terrial Magic. Let's try it. And I told them what I did and how I did it, and I totally did not follow the directions at all. And I said I wasn't following the directions, but it worked. And it worked amazing, and I loved it. And they smiled and they laughed and they said, here, do you want some more to take home? I'm like, I was flying. I couldn't. I'm like, I don't want it to spill. And so I'm like, that's okay. I'll buy from my distributor. It's an awesome product, though. I love it so much. All right, that is A, and here's B. It's actually a lot easier to do them with the sashing than it is for actually just sewing them together. So on my site for the t-shirt quilts, I actually have a picture of a t-shirt quilt that I did where I have no sashing. I just sewed all the t-shirts together. And that one was a pain. Oh, backwards. I keep forgetting. I like to iron these from the back. I'm so used to my normal way of ironing. And again, I iron it from the back because the fronts of t-shirts sometimes will have vinyl imprinting. And if you iron over top of the vinyl, it will actually melt onto your iron. And some of these t-shirts have that imprinting, so we don't want to do that. And I am ironing the fabric towards the t-shirts. And it's actually going to help stabilize it a little bit and give it a little bit of structure for whenever I quilt it. Well, see, it's funny because I was telling Persimmon earlier, it's a lot of my quilting I taught myself, and I figured things out. So when I first did t-shirt quilts, I didn't know what stabilizer was. I didn't know how to use it. So I just did it. And then as I quilted more and more and sewed more and more and I learned about these things, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Stabilizer, yeah, okay, that would help. Yeah, but I've already figured out how to do it without it. So I don't need it. I honestly don't know how I survived quilting as long as I did with figuring things out on my own. But I totally didn't mess everything up and get frustrated. Thank you. You have an amazing night as well. Okay, there's D. And then now let's iron C. Last but not least. I'm actually, you probably can't see it in the camera, but whenever I'm ironing, I'm actually pulling the quilt down and tugging on it a little bit. And what that does is, as I iron the seam, it makes the seam nice and taut. So I know that it's not bunching up on the other side. Alright, now let's pin these babies together. Moving all these over. So I'm going to start with row A. Oops. And pin B to it. Now what I'm doing here is I'm feeling. So my seams are here, so I'm feeling underneath to see where the seams are underneath, because I want to make sure that these line up here. And as you see, it's kind of off a little bit. So there it is, right there. That's perfect. And yep, it is. So I'm actually making sure then, because if you take a look at the example, you can see where the sashing in the first row meets the sashing in the second row meets the sashing in the third. So it looks like they're straight down. They're not. Okay, and then I don't want to pin any of this until I line this one up. Oh, that's way off. Is it off to the right? Yep. we go. And I only flip it to double check it. Because if you're feeling it, if it's nice and if it fits in there, then you know it's right. And now we're going to stretch the fabric so that this fits. There we go. Now, you won't be able to see it in the camera because of the way I have these cameras. But when I go over this part, so this is a polo shirt. So when I go over that part of it, I'm going to have to actually sew over and over and over to make sure it gets through. And it really kind of locks it in. That's what I was looking for. I fold this up to make it a lot easier to put into the machine. Okay, let me find the D row. That's C. Oh, yeah, no, I do want C. And D. Now, whenever I haven't mentioned it yet, but whenever I'm laying these rows out, I'm also looking at my Post-it notes to make sure that I've sewn them in the right direction and I've sewn them in the right order. As you saw with that one row, the very first one, sometimes I flip them. And hopefully I catch those before I actually sew it, like I did today. Sometimes I don't. Something is making me sneeze and bothering my allergies. Alright. I think I need to go to the right. Yeah, just a touch. There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. No, it's... The Post-it notes really... And what I do is it really, really helps whenever you have all the t-shirts laying out and you need to try to figure where they all go. I normally like a big room, and I actually do all my pinning and my my Tshirt Quilts layouts over at the Family Center where I do my teaching. That's the agreement that I have with them. I do all this free teaching, and in return I get to use their big meeting room that's got a really nice linoleum floor to do all my pinning. I take my pictures there too. So I lay all the quilts, I lay all the t-shirts out, and then I take a look at them and say, okay, and I move them all around. Once I have the order, I take a picture, but then I also stick all the Post-it notes down. So row A, B, C, D, so on, as far as it goes. And then that way, so in the case of this one, and then I said the person that's commissioned it, I send them the picture, and I say, hey, look, this is the layout that I think. What do you think? And if they say, well, let's move this t-shirt to here. Oh my gosh. Soleil! Silly dog. So if they say, oh, well, could you move this t-shirt over here and switch these? It's super easy for me to figure out where in the order it is in order to do that. And then when I go to start sewing them together, it's an easy way for me to keep them in the correct order. There is nothing like figuring out how you want a t-shirt quilt to look, and then sew it wrong. Okay, so I've reached the polo. So I'm actually forcing the machine to go back as well as forward. Oh, and I broke my needle. I knew that was going to happen. Because this is super, super thick. And I didn't have the right needle in there. Alright. Oh, which needle do I want? Let's do this one. Let's see how that one works. I break a lot of needles because I sew over my pins. So it's not a big deal for me. Alright, let's start this again. Alright, how does that look this time? No, it still didn't sew. Now, this is how I wear out my feed dogs. You notice how I didn't use the back button? I didn't back up. I just yanked it and kind of pulled it through. So I forced it to go back and forth to really give it some of those extra stitches. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. That's a way to wear down the feed dogs. Which I've done on with my nice expensive machine. Which is why now I only do it on these cheap machines. Because if these break, I'll just throw it away and buy another one. That's a lot cheaper than paying to repair my expensive one. Yeah, one of those do as I say, not as I do. Alright, let me make sure that one... Oh good, yeah, that's really in there now. Fantastic. This needle's much better. And I've got another one. Alright, ready to, don't do this at home? Broke it again. And this is why you don't do it at home. Okay, which needle do I want now? How's that one? Yeah, that one's good. Now you notice how I'm pulling needles from here? These are the needles that are the leftovers from my expensive machine. So either when they wear down a little bit, they're not quite as sharp, or I've used them for applique and they got a little bit of gunk on them, or maybe I just don't like the way it's sewing. I use those for piecing. at it. Beautiful. Perfect. Yeah, no, see, it's, I mean, and I abuse everything. Yeah, don't look at when I do these things like that. I really do abuse my machines. And that's, especially because, as you see, I sew over my pins. You're not supposed to do that, because that's what happens. You break needles. And then you can damage the insides of your machine. Hence, why I do my piecing on my cheap machines. This machine only cost me $150 US. Super cheap. But they're not good machines. Like, I would never recommend this machine to a new sewer because it is, there's a lot of things with it that are very picky, especially with the with tension, with a lot of the stuff. And so, and it's not, it's digital, but it's not. So it's not a very first time sewer friendly machine. But for someone that's sewing for a while that wants a cheap machine, it's also super lightweight. Or if you have someone teaching you how to use it, it's a great one. Yeah. I'm laughing because, so this one has an open bottom. So if the needle breaks, it actually goes right through the bottom. My expensive one, I do exactly that. I'll take it and shake it out whenever I clean it. That's funny. See, now I'm picturing everyone with machines going, trying to get the bits of needle out. Right, there's C and D. Oh, I am going to have to close my iPad because I have 3% battery left. I did not charge that baby before I started streaming. Alright, so I'm just going to have to look at the chat over here, which is fine. Now you may have noticed I flipped this one upside down. I'm actually ironing it on the right side, which I said normally I want to iron it on the wrong side because of the vinyl, and that's because of those polo shirts. So the polo shirts here are going to be hard to iron and to get them to lay correctly. So the only way you can really do that is from the front hand side. It's from the front. It won't work as nicely from the back. That's what I thought. There we go. That's in there. That's awesome. Yeah, is he talking about the t-shirt quilt that you said you would make for him? You know what? Tell him it's his fault, not yours, because he took forever picking out the t-shirts he wants. I like that. That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. I love tea. I'm only drinking coffee right now because I just, the tea I have upstairs. You know what? That's what I should have done. I should have just brewed some green tea. Get no pressure. I like that a lot. That's okay. Whenever I finish my streaming in the evenings, I normally finish at about 8 o'clock my time, because then I go upstairs and I spend 2 or 3 hours with my family. And that's the time that I normally have tea or a glass of wine or something else for it to wind down for the evening. There we go. Okay, so last row of sewing before I put the right and left borders on. Alright, let me check my tension. Yep, I'm good. Because it's a different needle than I had in before, so I just wanted to double check to make sure tension was still good. Even though you use the same thread, if you change your needle, sometimes tension can change. Some needles like different tensions. I think it took me a whole year to master getting the tension balanced. At first, I used to take my sewing machine into the quilt store that I bought it from, and I'd ask them, I say, it's not working, can you fix the tension? Alright, so after I pull the pins out and iron this, the next step is to get the border / sashing onto the left and to the right of the quilt. And how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to measure, oh you know what, I'm going to take all of these out before I do anything else. So I'm going to, because now it's all together, I don't have to worry about these anymore. So how I do that is I look as I actually fold it in half, and I figure out how long it is, so I know how many strips that I need. And I'll show you that in a moment. Yeah. See, and it's funny, I actually did, I also have a site that I own with Nicole called Craft Hackers, where we actually go through, and I have a couple of bloggers, and I blog on Fridays and Saturdays, where we actually go through and talk about craft-related things. So like today I talked about new fabrics that are coming out. It's always something craft-related. Some of them are do-it-yourself, some are other things. Well, when I actually learned about needles from Rhonda at Schmetz, and I learned all these cool things, I'm like, you know what? I wonder how many people don't know this stuff. So I actually spent 4 weeks talking about different things with needles. Like, what do those numbers mean? You know, when do you have to change your needle? When do you have to do this? When do you have to do that? And yeah. Alright, I'm keeping this one in because this tells me what quilt this is. Alright. That one. Okay, so the actual body of the quilt is done. So, like I said, we need to figure out the left and the right. So, how we do that is we fold it in half and we measure it. Now, the average fabric will be 42 inches wide. So this is 64 inches long. So I can't do 1.5. That's too close. So I've got to do 2. So I need 4 things. So I have 1, 2, 3. Of course. Of course I have 3. Oh, they're right here. You know how when you put things down, you don't remember where you put them? Okay, 4. Alright, so I'm going to combine 2 and 2 for my left and my right. And I will have lots of fabric left over, probably about 8 or 9 inches from each strip. So I will add that to my stash. Now, unlike with the Loki quilt, I had 1.5 strips for the left and the right. Because I have 2 strips, I don't have to worry about which side I'm putting down first. So the Loki quilt, I had 1.5 strips, so I had to put the half strip down first, so we didn't have like a little tiny end on it. In this case, there's 2. It doesn't make a difference. It's long enough, I'm not going to have a little end. There we go. Come on. Now, the correct way of doing this. Ooh, let me know how it tastes. Let me know if it deserves a quilt. The correct quilting way of doing borders is to measure the right, measure the left, and take the average of the 2, and then cut your piece of fabric for your border that size, the average of those 2. And then force the quilt to go into, move the fabric around so it goes into that space. That way your quilt is perfectly squared. Yeah, I don't go through all that. This is easier. And they're going to be sleeping with this quilt. I don't think they care if it's perfectly square. Now, if I was doing a quilt for a competition, okay, then I would actually take the time and do that to make sure, because they actually measure them. And they look at it to see, is this perfectly even? Alright. Come on, Washington National shirt. It's being difficult with me. In this case, I'm going to put lots of pins because it's being difficult and I want it to stay. Okay, alright, well then I guess your son can have his quilt if it's quilt worthy tea. That's awesome though, comes in to see if you want tea. And then sees that you're watching me and says, oh, does this mean I'm getting my quilt? I like that. It's funny because I haven't made a quilt for Jordan yet. So when I first started dating her father, I made her a quilt. It was actually the second quilt I had ever made. I made it with her in mind and I gave it to her. Yeah, she gave it to the dog because the dog was sick. And so the dog wanted something to, warm, so they gave the dog the quilt and then just never took it back. I like that. He's not here to hear that. So, but now she's older, now she's in high school, she understands, what goes into a quilt. And so I've told her that, she can pick whatever she wants. I will make her any quilt that she wants me to make. Well, she doesn't know what she wants. So, until she tells me what she wants, I'm not making her something. I want to make sure she wants it. Alright, scrap fabric. I think I'm going to bring my big bin of scrap fabric to Gen Con, so everyone that's doing the English paper piecing has lots of fabrics to choose from. Yeah, she was... Alright, I gotta think. We have been married 5 years. We were dating a little over a year. So, 6 years ago, I made the quilt. I'll be 41 in a few days, so 41, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14. So yeah, she was 8 when I gave her the quilt. Yeah, 8 years old. You don't know what goes into that, right? And honestly, it wasn't the best quilt. Oh yeah. No, definitely. And it's one of those things where I'm going to design something for her. So whenever she decides what she wants, I will sit down and I will design something for her. So whenever, a few years ago, she was really big into Minecraft, and so she wanted me to make a Minecraft quilt. I'm like, okay, well, give me a screenshot of your character, and I will make your character into a quilt. Well, then, of course, then she stopped playing Minecraft, so no, she didn't want that. That's what she's afraid of, is that if she gets something geeky or video game, what if she doesn't like the video game down the road? But whatever. Can always make another one. And she knows whenever she picks. Yeah. Whenever she picks what she wants, I'll probably make her help me. So I know she doesn't... I mean, you saw that she likes helping, but she doesn't want to sew. She doesn't want to do stuff like that. Okay, so you see what I'm doing here is I'm fixing the t-shirt, so I'm pulling it out and using my cutting mat to hold it down. So that way it doesn't curl under me as I add the sashing. You know, I never played Minecraft. I'm not a big person for sandbox games. I need to have goals. I need to have a mission. I need the game to tell me what to do, and I will do it. I'm not a creative person, surprisingly. Oops. I need to fix the seam. It didn't iron out the way it's supposed to. There we go. That's the only problem with ironing seams from the back, is sometimes they don't iron out completely. And then you gotta fix them. That's cool. A Wonder Woman Lego clock. That's really, really cool. But you know what? I didn't know what I liked until I was in my 30s. Yeah, I figured twin son and not your personal twin. Oh, that'd be cool if it was your twin. Oh, I stabbed myself with one of the pins in my leg. That's the only problem. You can tell it's binding day if I have scratches all up and down my arms, if it looks like a cat attacked me. Alright, so I will decide tomorrow late afternoon when I'm streaming tomorrow or Sunday. Because my husband's, in the morning, early afternoon, I'm going to a picnic for one of the rescue groups that I support here. Okay, so I got the Wonder Clips and I tried them. I don't know. I don't like them. To me, it felt like they almost were, I don't know. It's probably, I don't think that they're supporting enough, but I've got to keep using it in order to try it. And then my husband's ball tournament starts at 1:30, so I have no clue how long they're playing tomorrow. He has no clue. And we have no clue when they're playing on Sunday. So, when I know, then I'll make that decision. But sometime tomorrow or Sunday, I'm going to stream quilting and binding of Loki. Uh-oh. Damn it. I could feel that happening. See what's happened? It's rolled up in there. Damn it. So, what I'm going to do is do it from the opposite side. I don't know. I mean, I think... Like, I really want to do the Wonder Clips for the bindings, but... Maybe I just need someone else to show me how to do it. Alright. So I'm going to start sewing kind of in the middle. Now I'm sewing on the opposite side because this t-shirt is rolling up and I want to prevent that from happening. So I'm holding it down as I'm sewing. There we go. And then cut. And then now that that t-shirt's done, I will flip it to the correct side. And continue on. All that's left is remove the pins, iron it, and trim the edges. Oh, look at that. It's 7:50. That's perfect timing. So after I do quilting and binding of Loki, oops, I dropped a pin. I will work on the last 2 t-shirt quilts. So I've got 2 more left for this 7 quilt commission. And then that way I can pin, because I have 1 completely finished. Yeah, I know what you mean, the puckering. So it gets rid of it? See, I may try that then. I don't know, it's just whenever I put it on the quilt, it just seemed very cumbersome and bulky. That's a good way to put it. So I think I just have to force myself to use them. So yeah, so then I will take the 6 t-shirt quilts and I will do a pinning stream sometime when I am in Maryland. So you can see how I pin my quilts. Come on. Alright, there's the one side. me show it to you. Sorry. I'm automatically started to fold it. Okay, so T-shirt quilt. Yay! T-shirt quilt's done. This is quilt number 5. 5 of 7. So we fold that up. Now I get to go to my commission page and mark that out. So this is number 5, quilt number 5. It is now pieced. So I still have 1, 2. Oh, I bought the material for the Kylo Ren weighted blanket. I've got that. Fantastic. Okay, so that is all done. So that's it for the stream tonight then. I'm going to cut it right there. So thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it as always. Yeah, that was good. So, like I said, I don't know times or days, but I'll pop up on my chat. I'll make sure I pop up there when I'm streaming next for this weekend and next week. I am going to do a daytime stream sometime next week. I'm going to try to start doing at least one daytime stream each week that I'm streaming for the whole week. So that way I can get that done. So thank you very much for joining me, Persimmon. Have a fantastic evening. I appreciate you joining me.